Um, so I was born in Vietnam and grew up in Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. Back in the 1990s, there's a lot of illegal trade of wild animals going on in Vietnam, and it was not underground. It was very visible. So if you go on the street, you can see that people selling monkey in cages, people selling bird in cages, bears being kept in people's house in the yard in front of their house to extract buys. It's really horrendous. And I think a really turning point for me was when I was in primary school. I was only about 8 years old, and I was going back from school, and I saw one of the house next to my school. They were having these really big black bears, and the bear was knocked out, and it was lying on the floor on its back. And there was people around the bears, and they was holding a really big needle, and they stabbed the bear on the chest to extract the bile, which they believed which they use for traditional Asian medicines. And when that happened, I saw the body of the bear shake. I heard the bear was making noises, very painful noises. And that kind of haunting, really haunting to me. I can still recall it very vividly in my mind even now. And I remember back in the day when that happened, I was that when I saw that, all I wanted to do is to how to save this bear, what can I do to save other animals to stop this suffering for wild animal. So this would have been a dream come true for me, being a conservationist. I start from the scratch because people conservation is something really new. I mean, back in 1990, is not many people even know of conservation. Even now, some people still don't understand that conservation is a proper career. My parents, my mom is a teacher, my dad is a technician, and when I told them I want to be a conservationist, they kind of like pulling faces at me, and they say, "Why would you want to be a conservationist? It's not a job for a Vietnamese. It's not a job for women. You should try to become an accountant or a doctor or a teacher." And I was not interested in those careers, so I was very stubborn. I have to say, I'm really interested in being a conservationist, and I it never changed my mind about that. Well, yes. So because I really wanted to be a conservationist, and in Vietnam, there's no course on conservation, and there's no way you can study nature. I remember in high school, I went to this special school and major in biology because I was hoping I get to learn about animals and ecosystems. But I ended up to study about genetics because I want to train the student to join some big international competitions on measuring in biology. So I wasn't interested in that at all. And then I spent the time in high school to look for scholarship to go to anywhere in the world that can teach me about conservation and can train me to be a conservationist. And I was very lucky to get scholarship to go study in the UK. So I did my undergrad, my master, and my PhD in England. And then when I was there, I see that I learned about conservation, and the more I learn, the more I feel that there are so much work to be done and so much work needed to be done. So I just feel I'm not ready to go home to Vietnam yet. I ended up working in a lot of different places. I work in Laos, in Cambodia, in Mozambique, South Africa, Kenya, many other African countries. And then in 2023, no, in 2015, that when I go back to Vietnam and created my own organization, applying what I have learned from all the different places, um, and yeah, start working in conservation in Vietnam. But I still travel to other countries to do work as well. Um, well, I wouldn't say so. I think I'm very lucky in a way because I was born in a developing country, Vietnam, and then I get to do my study, my education in a developed country. And then get to work in Africa, in a less developed area of the world. And I think that those times when I was in the UK and do work in Europe, I learned a lot from experts around the world. And I mean, back in the day, I mean, England is the UK is one of these countries that have some of the most famous conservationists, and many of my mentors are English born, and they really inspire me to be a better person, to be a better conservationist, and thanks to them that I am who I am today. Whew, that is a very difficult technical question. I wish I know the answer for that. If we know, we would have done that, and the illegal trade would have ended by now. I mean, from my experience and my opinion, the main problem with illegal wildlife trafficking is corruption, and this corruption is happening. It happened in many parts of the world. It's not only in Africa. It's not only in Asia. It's in many different places. Let's talk about one. Let's talk about these illegal traffickers. Um, the middleman would have helped him to find some poor people in the village to go hunting, to go do illegal poaching at the national park. For the illegal poaching to happen, a lot of times it's because briberies. Some ranger taken the bribe and let the illegal activity happen, let the people to go kill the animal, and then in order to bring this animal park out of the country, out of the province, more bribery happening. People higher up in the trade chain supporting the trade, supporting this illegal activity, and how it gets to go around the world. That how while illegal um, killing of the rhino horn happened, of the rhino happens, how rhino horn able to being transporting from Africa to Asia, Vietnam, and China, and so on. So I think that the main thing, probably some of the main issue with the world nowadays, is the corruption and how to tackling that. On the smaller scale, then yes, wildlife consumption. When people get richer in many parts of the world, in Asia, people want to consume wild animal meat or consume animal products for medicines. In other parts of the world, people want to keep animal as pets. There's a huge pet trade in Europe, from birds of paradise to monkey to primates, reptiles, and so on. So I think that is super important for awareness raising, and to get engaging with other people from other sectors, where celebrities are really verbally speaking out and being a role model to so many people to raise awareness. For example, Ricky Gervais from the UK, he's been very dedicated to animal welfare. So how to get more people like him, and how to get more people, for example, like the royal family in Spain, with this with the foundation, and giving award to people like us, people like me, that kind of helping us, lending us a voice, amplifying our voice and amplifying what we are doing, and send out the message to the public, and that is very important. Yeah. So with my organization, we focus on three main themes. The first program is the education program, and within this education program, we have two main projects. The first project is national capacity building, and this is where we really focusing on bringing education to university students on conservation. If anyone want to study in conservation, if they are working in other sectors but they want to change their job and be a conservationist, they can sign up to study our course, and they can learn about conservation. They can learn about what's happening, all of this illegal wildlife trade and how to combat wildlife trade. They learn about wild animal welfare, and many other conservation issues from experts who are conservationists, working in NGOs and university all around Vietnam, but also around the world as well. And then the second education project that we have, where we traveling to near national park and nature reserve, and we helping the community to build a what we call a wild library, where we providing books on nature, on conservation, because we want to inspire the young people, the students, to learn about conservation and to understand the area that they living around. We would bring the student into the national parks and have outdoor activity to show them the different species of plant, different species of animals, and to introducing to them that there's a career called wildlife conservation, that maybe in the future they can consider working, studying, and become a conservationist and work with us. And then we have our second program is on empowering women in conservation, is where we working with other organizations and agencies in Vietnam, trying to build a better world of work for people to make working in conservation safer and more equality, more inclusive to women and to gender minorities. And our third program is working with the local community, where we call it community conservation programs. We would empowering the local communities, including women, to create to support their livelihood. It could be helping them with a agricultural protect activities that they already conducting in the area, by helping them to develop it in a more sustainable way, helping them to sell their products. And when we're doing so, we would sign an agreement with the local people that they would not conducting slash and burn. They would not go chop down the forest. They would not go hunt the animals, in order to get to receive our support. But also we would employ some of the local peoples, and they could be previous hunters. They would work with us. They could get receive training, and they would go into the forest to patrolling the forest and removing animal traps with the rangers. And that is a way of getting people to get more involved in understanding conservation work on the ground. And at the moment, for this community conservation program, we have three main sites in north, south, and central of Vietnam. Well, you already gave the examples of choose what you eat. We can become vegan or vegetarian, or simply just reduce the amount of meat that you eat every day. You can choose different type of meat to eat as well. For example, we know that cow eating meat, producing a lot of um, methane gas and CO2. Whereas if you eat chicken, for example, it's required less landfill, is produce less waste. So choose what you want to eat. Choose what you consume with daily life. And I think that one of the very important things that we all aware of is the plastic pollution, because obviously everywhere in the world now, and we have been having research coming out saying that we found microplastic in human blood, in human lungs, in our water, in our food, even in the air. So that's it, one of these very, very threatening issue in conservation at the moment as well. Not only to marine mammals, but also to bigger and animals living on land as well. There have been report coming out saying this elephant in Thailand, in Sri Lanka, in many other areas of the world, when tourists go to visit national park, they just dump their plastic bags all around in the forest, and the animal came along and they picked that rubbish up and they ate it, and then they ended up dying because there's so many plastic bags have been in their stomach. So I think that one of the things that every one of us can do, you don't have to be a conservationist, you don't have to go into the forest to study the animals. You can simply just refuse to use single-use plastic, like plastic bags or cutleries or that kind of thing. Think of consuming locally rather than buying products that have been imported from overseas, because that way it's used a lot of fossil fuel. Is it have more damage to the environment. And think of the bank, who are you banking with? Because a lot of banks that investing in mining, lots of banks that investing in um, unsustainable development. So find out who are you banking with and what are they investing in. And if they are not doing good, doing anything good, not doing investing in sustainable development, then speak to them and let them hear your voice, or simply speak to another banks that care about the nature and develop sustainably. So this happened quite a while ago. I think 2017 when I was doing undercover work in South Africa. So I've been doing undercover work in quite a lot of different countries as well. But I think this story, because it's have been on my TEDx talks, that's why people ask about it a lot. Um, I was doing this work with the local police in South Africa, and I was posing as an Asian, a Vietnamese illegal wildlife trade buyer, traders from Asia, and I'm really interested in buying rhino horn, ivory, elephant ivory, and pangolin scales. And so when I came in, I told these people who the police have been followed for a while, and I've been collecting information, intelligence to the police. After a long time of collecting this intelligence, we decided that these are the people that we want to get arrested. And so we contacted, and I came in and I contacted them again, and I said, well, I'm interested to buy this amount of products. Can you prepare it for me? And because of the amount of money is so huge, I need to pay them. I would need to get them to believe me and get in the car and drive to this place where we already work out with the police that is a safe place for these people to come in. I get out of the car, the police will pour in and arrest these people. And so on that particular day, I came in, I met these people, I saw the products. They showed me the products I wanted to buy. We put it in the car, we loaded them in the car, and I get into the car with these men. And I knew they had guns with them, so it was quite terrifying. So I was just go in the car, I sit in the shotgun seats, and I was just trying to talk about very simple thing, just for silly conversation, like, oh, it's so hot in Johannesburg, it's the weather is horrible, the traffic is horrible. And it just happened that one of the products that they put inside the micro, I can't remember whether it was a microphone or it was a tracker that was run out of battery. The hidden camera, not the microphone, sorry, the hidden camera or the tracker ran out battery. And when it ran out battery, it was flashing red light. And it was such a horrible, terrible experience, because if they see that, then they just kill me. Nothing anyone can do. There's a police car for tailing us behind, but they won't be able to do anything because I'm sitting right next to these traffickers. So I was very quickly grab my hair, because I have really long hair. So grab my hair and I push it on top of the flashing light and try to cover it up. And luckily they did not see it. And we got to the place. I got out of the car. I give them the signal that everything in the car just come in, arrest these people. And these men have been arrested. Yeah, so that was a story. In Vietnam before, when I was working in conservation, people was like, why do you work as a conservationist? Why you women go into the forest for? And since I got this award, some people say, oh, look at that woman. She's going to see the princess in Spain. Um, because he's a conservationist. And young people kind of admiring it. So people would come to me and say, oh, you actually going to see the princess of Spain? Or they would say, oh, wow, you get to see the royal family in Spain. So people are like looking up to it. So I think this award definitely give us exposure, give us conservationist exposure, and to change people prejudge and their misunderstanding of our work. So what they think before conservation is not something desirable, and now it becomes something very desirable, because why would the princess of Spain give this award to this woman in Vietnam going to the forest and don't even know what she's doing in the forest? So definitely give us exposure, give amplifying our voice, and bring what we are doing to the people, and having the royal family to supporting our work is really making the public to is raise awareness of the public into the importance of conservation and sustainability. With the funding from the Princess Award, I really wanted to continuing our work in Vietnam, especially on the project at the moment that providing support to the local communities. We are having a new project site in southern part of Vietnam, and we are working with the local people to increase their livelihood. A lot of people over there, they are ethnic minorities that don't get much attention from the government or from the publics, and we really wanted to use the funding to supporting them, to help them with their livelihood, to help them to move from having to go into the forest, collecting timber, collecting woods, collecting fields, collecting food, and change them into help them to and empower them to participate in conservation activity, rather than having to depending so much to the forest and become a forest defender.